I get into Clare and find a $35 room above the middle pub. They're too small to swing a monkey and fairly stuffy, but with a fan on at night and wholesome $10 pub meals downstairs, they suit me just fine. I have a contact to meet in Clare who may well be able to help me get work with the local wineries. At 5:30pm I head to the Taminga pub to meet Gary, a retired gentleman whose father lives in the same town my father lives in. I met Gary at an Ararat pub and we decided to catch up when I was in town. When I arrive at the Taminga, I'm made aware it has a fairly elaborate seating protocol, dictating where regulars sit at given times and on given days. Seat 1, for example, is Gary's seat. Seat 2 is Nappa's seat, unless Rowley is present. Seat 3 is primarily undesignated, except for on Wednesdays, when it's used by Smokey. This list covers all 13 spots in the bar and is very specific with regard to times. Gary's seat, for example, is reserved from 5:37pm till 7:15pm, with the stipulation that Gary may return for one drink around 9:30pm after a meal, so potential patrons take heed. I have with me a list of all the wineries in the region, and with Gary's suggestions narrow that list down to the ones he believes would be worth connecting with regard to getting a video made. No, not them, they've gone broke. Unfortunately, Aussie pub culture is dying off. It was a place a man could go and let off some steam, have a laugh and learn the local goings-on. It's now just become too expensive. When you can have a beer at home for $1.50, paying $6.50 for a pint in a pub can soon add up. Part of this is due to a 6-monthly automatic government excise increase called the sin taxes. It was introduced 30 years ago and also pushes up the price of things like cigarettes, which now cost a staggering $40 a pack. I think it is also a cultural change. I recently did an inner-city pub crawl in Melbourne with a mate, and apart from the iconic Young and Jacksons, most of the other old classic pubs had been restyled into restaurants. If a man hasn't made his money by 50, he'll die a pauper, said an 86-year-old with beetroot red skin and wispy pure white hair. I thought to myself, if you reach 86 and can still have Friday night beers with a few friends, you have riches more than King Solomon's mines. The next morning I get up and do a bit of maintenance on the Doctor. I'd fitted a new performance exhaust on the bike before leaving, and I'd noticed earlier that the header bolts were coming loose. But I found when I tightened them, the pipe would then touch the frame of the bike. I tried to rectify the problem by adding 3 washers to the middle connecting bolt, but it seemed no matter how many adjustments I made, when all bolts were tightened, the pipe touched the frame. I tried to buy all Australian manufactured parts when modifying my bike, even though in some cases it meant paying 3 to 5 times more. I thought it would be an interesting exercise to see how they perform, and fitting for such a journey around my own country. Australia is actually the 4th most expensive country in the world, behind Switzerland, Norway and Bermuda, but also has the highest minimum wage in the developed world, pipping out New Zealand, Canada, the UK and the US. I suppose it all evens out in the end for those who have full-time work. I then took up office upstairs at the pub. I love the carpet in these old places, pubs and casinos. Somewhere in the world there is a carpet designer tripping out on acid, turning out these lurid psychedelic patterns. I decide to forsake email this time and go straight to the phone. I ring those wineries on my list, suggested by Gary, and try and get a contact name for their marketing manager. In the end, they still ask me to send an email with some examples of my work. Oh boy, technology can be a wonderful thing, giving us access to people and ideas around the world, but there is nothing like personal contact, in friendship, in business. Seeing the face of those we are talking to, judging their reactions, their non-verbal cues. I've got to find a way to meet these people face to face. It's the only way I can sell them the idea of doing a video, right now. For lunch I decided to try a local delicacy, Saltbush lamb. Apparently, the meat of sheep that graze on the local saltbush plants of the dry marginal interior have a unique taste. So I purchase a few chops and head off to a public barbecue in a local park. I was fully prepared with salt and pepper I'd borrowed from the hotel I was staying at. I cooked the chops and let them rest for a few minutes. They were nice lamb chops, but I can't say I noticed any difference in taste. I decided to visit a few wineries and get an idea of the local varietals. The Clare Valley has a Mediterranean climate of hot days and cool nights. This leads to very fruit-driven wines, as the cool nights allow the grapes to ripen slowly. Primarily known for its Riesling, the region also produces smooth Shiraz and Cabernets. Austrian Jesuits were some of the first to produce wine in the Clare Valley back in 1851. On my little tour, I found places to eat with magnificent views over rolling hills and a brewery that produced a tonic ale with orange and lemon peel, fresh coriander and ginger from a 100-year-old recipe. But the highlight of the day was a chance visit to a Twilight market in Seven Hill, a local event where producers sell their wares, everything from fresh produce to cakes and relishes. It really represented to me what a vibrant community the Clare Valley is. Colourful characters and delicious tastings, wine-soaked figs with cracker and cheese, pickled grapes and homemade pistachio and honey ice cream. It was a foodie's dream to find a place where people still have a connection to the earth and what it grows. It was really wonderful, and my only regret was I couldn't buy all these delicacies and take them with me, as many wouldn't survive saddlebag temperatures. Tomorrow, I'll see a different type of country. Gary has graciously offered to take me on a little tour of the district, which will take us to the margins of the good earth, the periphery, where the farming lands end and the mythical outback begins.